is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Tech in the Right Direction, the podcast. Let's take tech in the right direction to drive social change and close the employment, pay, and culture gap for women in technology. This podcast is focused on helping turn ideas into action to create opportunities for women to advance in the dynamic technology industry. I hope this podcast will inspire and motivate you to encourage more women and girls to seek or grow a career as a woman in technology. Stories about the journey of amazing women in this tech field starts right now. This week in our Women in Tech segment, I will be talking with Evelyn Sheahan. Evelyn currently works as a business program manager in the worldwide apps domain in the Microsoft Services Delivery Organization. The team's primary focus is driving innovation to help customers thrive as they go through a digital transformation and adoption of the Azure cloud software. Evelyn has held a number of roles across Microsoft divisions, which include worldwide learning, U.S. services, field marketing, product planning at the Microsoft Redmond headquarters, and internationally localization management for the Microsoft and Visio. Evelyn holds a Master's of Business Administration from Smurfit Business College, University College Dublin, Ireland. She loves to learn continuously about learning, change management, and creativity. Welcome to the show, Evelyn. I'm so happy to have you.
It is great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me to join this great podcast series.
Sure. So let's get started. So can you share with us a little bit about your career path in technology?
Absolutely. So I started off by studying graphic design when I went to college. And when I got out of college, I got a job at a newspaper doing desktop publishing. And that translated then into a job at a different software company, managing localization of computer manuals and help files. So that's sort of basically how I started out in this business.
That's very neat. So from graphic design to technology, that's, a lot of people get into technology kind of accidental or through a plan that, they didn't see ahead of time. Was it like that for you?
So I guess it's more accurate to say that the technology business was a great opportunity that sort of presented itself to me when I started out. I guess I wasn't aware of the kinds of jobs that I could possibly have had looking back in my career now. I would say I'm more interested in sort of people and, communications and, dealing with customers. At Microsoft, we talk about customer obsession. So I like the idea of doing a great job so that customers feel like they're getting what they need and they're feeling good about doing business with Microsoft. I feel, great sense of satisfaction from doing the best we can do, almost every day.
I love that. I think the people and the technology part together really make a great combination, but you have to have those people skills and, not be afraid of technology to kind of merge the two. So you've done such a great job in your career with that. So when did you realize that you like working for a technology company or within technology? Did you have a spark or did something say, hey, I really like this?
So when I was a bit intimidated, learning about computers as I'm dating myself now, back, initially, and once I got proficient, I was using desktop publishing software. It was a company that was bought by Adobe subsequently. The software I was using, to build books. It was very satisfying, going through the process of building these computer manuals that were eventually printed, and then eventually, obviously, they went online. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was dealing with localization. I was working with translation companies, and so I was doing project management as well. So there was lots of moving parts, and every day, was quite different. So I feel like that I kind of got hooked on on technology at that point. And then subsequently, I came to Microsoft, and the pace of change in the industry accelerated as well. So it's an exciting business to be in, as you know.
Yes, it's really true. It's so dynamic and changing so much, on a daily basis. To be part of that transformation and to take your organization through that transformation is exciting, but it's also stressful.
Exactly.
So, we know that the technology industry is very much a male-dominated field. Um, do you feel that women have the same opportunities as men in this industry?
Um, I suppose I would say sort of yes and no to answer the question, really. I feel that success ultimately depends on having, great managers and mentors. And as you progress through your career, ultimately having a leader that sponsors you. I think that I think with women, I think that we feel like we have to have all the answers before we, whether we apply for jobs. We feel like we have to have all of
Mm-hmm.
the criteria. We don't necessarily speak up at meetings, if we don't have all the information. Whereas, guys are not daunted at all.
Mm-hmm.
They'll speak, they'll speak very authoritatively, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
just their opinion. And I think, just say as a woman, I think I can learn from that. When I was at school, I was more interested in and had more aptitude for things like art or English than science or math. And I have brothers who are twins who are just older than me, and they encouraged me to take advanced math so that when I went to college, I'd be able to choose what to focus on next, even though I was sort of a bit myopic about the things I was good at and the things I wasn't as good at, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I really benefited, from, I'd say, good male mentors, whether it was my brothers or whether it was really good managers that I've had. And I've had some really good mentors, male and female, as well as, having really strong managers. And I think being sort of in the minority in one way can be an advantage, because it's tough being the only woman in the room. But then if you're the only one in the room, maybe you get a chance to just be yourself, because you're not being compared to somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
or having to
Yeah.
compete with another peer.
What great points. I think, initially you mentioned that, sometimes we don't have the confidence to just jump in and speak up. And, we really are focused. I work with a lot of young girls in STEM and really trying to get their confidence to a level that this will not be an issue down the road when they're in the workforce. So confidence, yes, definitely. And then I love that your brothers said you need to take advanced math, because that builds that confidence. You can talk with authority. You can feel at the same level, and you wouldn't feel like you couldn't handle the same opportunities as your brothers. So I love that. Very much what most women don't get that opportunity. So I think you're pretty fortunate to have that.
Absolutely.
Now, as a woman in this field, have you seen some challenges, and then what have you done to kind of overcome them? Does one or two challenges come to mind during your career?
Yes. So I think some of the challenges might be around sort of basic sort of gender differences, like we talked about, men speaking authoritatively, in situations. And so I think that, that I've been in situations where, because I wasn't speaking maybe loud enough or forcefully enough or something, that, men would start talking over you. And I
Mm-hmm.
got a lot better at saying haven't finished, or just to finish my thought, or please let me finish,
Mm-hmm.
variations of that.
I
But
think I've seen you in action with that.
you have.
I think I have. You do a great job.
And when I was younger, and I think getting older obviously helps as well. But I feel like initially I felt like I was being aggressive if I continued talking because I was the one who had started speaking first. So that was kind of tough. The other thing is that sometimes I had a manager who wasn't a great manager who would listen more to our male colleagues. And so I was able to use that to my advantage so that I could keep doing work that was interesting. I would just go to my peer and I'd say, hey, I had this idea. What do you think? And then at a team meeting the next day, he wouldn't take credit for my idea, but he would throw it out and the manager would listen to him. And so then I got to keep doing work that was interesting. So I think that you have to be kind of courageous and sort of stand up for yourself, but not feel like you have to behave like a man. I think that women are still women at the end of the day. Um, and then another thing that was really nice, I had a colleague who was, kind of a guy who was naturally fairly abrasive, and we were talking to a customer on the call and he cut the customer off a couple of times with more out of enthusiasm, rather than being rude. But it came across to me sort of rough. So I basically asked him if I could give him feedback, and I was kind of nervous, and the guy was a bit intimidating. But afterwards, he said that he was delighted that I cared enough to give the feedback, and then he was super loyal and super helpful and a great ally after that. So I think that if you can kind of muster the courage to stick up for yourself or do something that makes you nervous, maybe that like I've done things over the years that really pays off, by just sort of being present and showing up and sticking up for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, jumping in with both feet, right? I mean, you have that thought and you don't let that uh, negative thought take over. You say, no, I can do this. I'm going to try it. And I jump in with both feet. And I do that quite a bit on lots of things that I've never done before. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. What I really love about what you said is um, you've really built up a network of even male mentors that have lifted you up, and you've been able to get them on your side so that they are now working with you rather than against you. And I think that's so important because I remember a women in technology group that I was with, that we were just starting out, and one of the women said, no, I think we should not let men into our group. I think it should only be women. And I said, absolutely not. We need that support. We need that help. We need that mentorship for us to get to where we need to get to. And today, definitely the organization is male and female. And I think it's a great mix of, people that have different opinions, that speak at different times and have different levels of confidence. And all of that builds together to create a great community.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, I believe women have some distinct advantages in this technology field. Do you feel that way? And if so, where do you think we bring advantages to the table when we are working on a team?
That's a great question. So I think that we have unique skills and perspectives that we need to value, and I think that companies can make a huge mistake if they have sort of homogenous thinking when they're coming up with new products. Also, I think that women can add some sort of cohesiveness to teams. I think that we have emotional intelligence is something that women have some slight advantage. And I mean, not to be disrespectful to men,
No,
but I
no,
think
yeah.
that the nurturing and the empathy and kind of being kind. I think that women are more willing to or more able to be uncomfortable and sort of deal with the mush of emotions and still move forward and kind of get things done without missing a beat. Um, like I think it's really important personally, to see the whole person that's in front of you, whether it's in person or on virtual meetings. I do a lot of virtual meetings. I think that it's really worth investing in people, and, if somebody says their child's graduating or they got a new dog or somebody's passed away in their family, that you're willing to kind of talk to them about it and just really see that whole person. And I think that, makes work more enjoyable, but also it builds bonds and we get more done as a large group, men and women together.
Yeah, absolutely right on, where we bring that nurturing, the empathy, the emotional intelligence, and then collaboration, those types of things. We then offset, our male counterparts to provide things that maybe they don't do more of. We do a little bit more in this area, they do more in the other area, and it complements and creates a full solution. And I love that. So, really great points about what we can bring to the table. So, again, back in the male dominated field, women out there listening to this show are thinking, this is great. They're in technology and they've been in technology for a long time, but what if I was considering a career in tech? What would be where could I start? What would be your advice to them?
So I think the thing about technology in companies today is that I think technology is more ubiquitous than it was, maybe when I was starting out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think most companies, no matter what industry they're in, are technology companies. Microsoft talks about the digital transformation. So we believe that companies need to transform themselves, to stay relevant, regardless of what business their primary business is. They need to be able to leverage technology to make their customers, experience better. But that said, working for a pure technology company like Microsoft, I would totally recommend it. I feel like it's exciting. The pace is fast. Um, you have a long and interesting career, and for me, like I've moved between divisions at the
Mm-hmm.
company, and you learn an awful lot by sort of osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is changing all the time, as you mentioned earlier. And I think also you just sort of you're meeting lots of smart people, and they have egos of different sizes. So you learn how to navigate, managing people and managing. Sometimes it's stressful, okay, but that you have lots of interesting problems to solve, and when you get results and you get projects done, it's very exciting, and you really can feel like you're having a great impact on the broader sort of ecosystem, depending on what your role is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think also one of the things I love about Microsoft is that a lot of technology companies are strong on philanthropy and citizenship and being active in our own personal communities. So one of the things that Microsoft does is if I volunteer locally, they give money to my nonprofits, so directly to them,
Mm-hmm.
per hour of my volunteer time. And if I give any dollars to the 503, the nonprofits, they match that as well. And to me, all of that together makes for lots of satisfaction. Um, I think that as a woman, you have to be realistic about the challenges like that we've talked about, but I think things are some of the issues that are have been raised over the last few years are making companies more maybe protective of women, and I don't know whether we need protecting or not, but maybe I'm hoping that it'll just get easier to be yourself and to show up in a more male dominant environment, and be able to feel like you can contribute equally and all of that kind of thing. I think there's some work to be done in some companies, but hopefully it's just getting better.
Yeah, I'm seeing a trend about, really talking about being your authentic self. And that's so important because that's who you are and there's nobody else like you. And that's an advantage and, um, a very strong piece of you that you're giving to your company and adding value. So I think being your authentic self is very important. And I'm hearing more and more trends of encouraging organizations, encouraging women and men to just be authentic and be you because you bring a lot to the table. So I'm hoping that'll continue.
Absolutely.
And then, we keep talking about this dynamic, changing world, and obviously, I'm in training, and you've been in worldwide learning for a while. How do you keep your skills current today? How do you stay on top of what's going on? What are some of the best practices you use?
So I think that it's a big juggling exercise because it's easy to feel like you don't have enough time in the day, but if you don't keep yourselves current or have continuous learning, your career isn't going to flourish the way it will if you can, focus on learning every day. And so some simple things that I think you need to do is sort of stay current in the technology, the business you're in. So like I would scan the technology headlines in different publications every day, so you're aware of market trends or
Mm-hmm.
competitive trends or trends in different industries. um, One that you know a lot about is the Azure Fundamentals training. So
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft is very strong in getting all of us to up our game as far as our technical skills and certification are concerned. And I think that's really important from the perspective of whether you're planning to stay with the company you're in or if you're planning to move. I think that having training and certification and expertise will help you to get your next the next job, and help get you well-paying jobs as well. And so I did Azure Fundamentals training recently, and so it was a whole combination of stuff. And I'm a big fan of blended learning because I feel like it's a good way to marry doing stuff on demand at your own time and then talking to subject matter experts. So what I did for my Azure Fundamentals training was initially I used some internal self-paced training,
Mm-hmm.
and it was good, but I found it not as satisfying. And so then I attended a virtual instructor-led training workshop, and that was super valuable. There
Mm-hmm.
were about 20 of us. We were all on the phone. We were on the Teams software, and it's a plug for Microsoft software.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to either ask questions verbally or we could IM instant message the questions. And if somebody didn't understand, the teacher would sort of say, okay, time out, let's discuss this, complex topic or that type of thing. And I got a gift from the Microsoft Press team of the Azure Fundamentals exam reference. So
Yeah.
so I was reading that as well. And so ultimately, I think the most efficient way to get trained, I think, really is to do immersive training in a classroom where you turn off your laptop and you shut off your phone except for checking the messages at the break or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the absolute best method. Some other ways that I've had satisfying experiences were we had a mix of videos with case studies and different readings, and we were assigned other employees. So it was, this example was a negotiation skills class that Microsoft was running, and it was
Mm-hmm.
mostly virtual, but we were assigned peers that we would actually have conference calls with to discuss the case studies, and we had to do role play. So my role was to do position A in the negotiation. And so if
Mm-hmm.
there was four of us, two of us were on the same side and two were on the other side. And it was very enjoyable because it was forcing you to apply the skills. It wasn't just theoretical, and you knew you had to prepare and do your videos because otherwise you wouldn't have been ready for your negotiation practice. So I think that was a good experience, but I think my preference really is to go in a classroom and shut the doors and get X amount of days of training all together. That works really well.
Yeah, I love that. And, you kind of mentioned a lot of different types of training. And I think today a blended approach of several different things, maybe some reference materials that's more online, but then, that immersive experience with your coworkers, with other people that you can ask questions, you can bounce thoughts around, talk to the instructor. All of those things are so critical to learning. But today we have to continuously be learning. So really that blended approach and the storytelling is so powerful. Once you hear a story, that sticks in your head more than just reading, reading about it. So, like you said, the case studies are another great way to learn how you can apply some of the skills. So, great points. All right, Evelyn, in closing, so what three words would your friends use to describe you?
Oh wow, this is a tough question. I hope I have to say is I hope they would say that I was creative. I really enjoy problem solving and sharing ideas and brainstorming. Um, I think collaborative. I think that I like to work with people and motivate people to sort of take action and kind of be like a cheerleader along the way. And clearly, as you can tell, I'm pretty chatty. I think chatty is a word they would use. I am naturally very interested in other people's stories, and sometimes when you remember something about a person, it benefits you because you say, "Hey, how did that work out?" Something that they told you about, their
Mm-hmm.
child's new job or the puppy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice. But it makes life more interesting as well, and um, I guess it makes it a way to sort of, make sort of professional friendships that can last your entire career as well. When people a little bit beyond the work that you do together. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much
Well,
for
thank
the
you so much. And I think,
opportunity.
yeah, I think you were spot on your description of what people would say because I've known you for a few years, and I would definitely say that you're creative. You care about others, and that shows so much when you're actually talking, you're listening, you're understanding, you're taking, more about the other person into you than you talking about yourself. And I think that are, those are great qualities. So thank you. It was great fun to have you on, and we hope to have you on a show again soon.
That would be lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, and please take a minute to subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode. See you next week.
As your organization continues to embrace and adopt new technologies, does your team have the skills required to make the most of your investments? Directions Training offers IT professional and end-user training for the most popular solutions today, including Microsoft 365, Azure, AWS, Cisco, Citrix, VMware, and much more. Our flexible delivery methods and full customized offerings make sure that you get the training you need just the way you need it, in person, virtual, on demand, or through a blended approach. Success is a journey. Ask for directions. Visit us at www.directionstraining.com for more information today. Thanks for listening to Technology in the Right Direction, your source for the latest technology trends shaping the world. To download this week's show or listen to past shows, visit directionstraining.com/podcast. Past shows are also available at ewnpodcastnetwork.com, as well as through iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. To find out how to be a guest on the show, visit directionstraining.com/podcast. Until next time, we hope that technology takes your business in the right direction.
Thanks for listening. This is the EWN Podcast